Welcome, young Skywalker. I have been expecting you.
I got a really good feeling about this.
Don't get technical with me.
As Obi-Wan would say, Q.
Now I'm lost. What are you going for?
I just thought you were going to say, may the force be with you.
What does Obi-Wan say? He says hello there, but we're leaving, so why would I say that?
We would be honored if you would join us.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Mostly Star Wars podcast. I got two of the wonderful hosts here along with me. In the middle, we have Josiah.
Hello there.
And on the right, we have Tyler.
This is way.
This is the way. That's what he said. That was a translation for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Well, welcome. May 4th. May the 4th be with you, everybody. It's Star Wars Day. We're happy to talk about Star Wars, and we got some great stuff coming today. We got Visions. I unfortunately haven't been able to watch any of that yet, but I look forward to getting to it. Gentlemen, Anything interesting you find today in Star Wars Day?
Yeah, I think just in general, it's such a cool day, obviously just, created by fans, play on words, but it became like such like a big movement. And I love that it's almost like a holiday now. And, like so many people are talking about Star Wars, playing Star Wars, watching Star Wars, telling Star Wars stories. At school today, like all the kids were, like wearing Star Wars stuff. All the teachers were wearing Star Wars t-shirts, and like there's just conversations around Star Wars. In our third grade class, we had like a trivia part of the day for like Star Wars, and like I don't know, it was such a cool thing that there was so many people just all talking about Star Wars, whether they knew a lot about it or really were into it or not. But it was such a cool thing, and I think just across the board, seeing on social media all these different companies, really going all in for Star Wars Day, and people doing like PC builds like based around Star Wars and everything. And so I think just in general today, it's such a cool thing for so many people like around the world to just like think about, talk about, and experience Star Wars today. And yeah, like you had mentioned, Visions came out, and I was excited. I really enjoyed the first season of Visions. As some of the specific stories in there I thought would have been awesome to like be a full-on show. I've only watched the first episode actually, and I was surprised. It kind of started a little bit slow for me because I was like, it's only 15 minutes, so it's basically almost like a short, so I was like, it's kind of starting slow, especially for how short it was. But then like the payoff with like a couple of moments in there, I was like, dang, like they did a really good job. So yeah, I was hyped for that. And then before the show, I was talking to Tyler, and I was telling him that the main character, Lola, she is actually the actress in Money Heist or Casa de Papel on Netflix, the Netflix show. And so that was pretty cool to see somebody, an actress that we knew, my wife and I knew, to be in, thrust into Star Wars, even if it is, Visions. But that was really cool to see.
Yeah, I did get to watch most of them. Well, I say most of them. I did kind of fall asleep during one of them, but
How dare you?
I know. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not really a anime person, and it's kind of hard to even the ones that I thought were good. Like I was just kind of mentioning to you guys that you get to the end and you're like, okay, that's it. That was cool. Let's go. Let's just, let's see some more. Let's keep going or whatever. But then then it's another episode about someone completely different and something completely different, and there's no real traction to it. And then the other part too is like you just mentioned, that it's not canon, and so it's kind of hard to get involved in it too much. I do like seeing the different animation styles and the cultures that are represented through that. That was pretty interesting, and I did enjoy that. But again, and the other thing that came out today, which I actually, well, I thought I had watched an episode or two last night, only to realize that I was going to start, I was like, okay, I can burn through those because they're super short. Realizing that it's the Jedi Academy Adventures, and I was watching the shorts, not the episodes. I thought they were just shorts. And then I looked in and found the season and I'll go, well, there's like 8-9 episodes that are 25 minutes long. I'm like, it's 6:00 on my podcast at 8. I'm not finishing this whole thing.
Yep.
But yeah, because I watched a couple episodes last night thinking they were the 4-minute episodes, and I just thought I was at the right spot, and I just wasn't. And then I went and looked at it today and was like, oh, I was on the wrong one last night. And you know, that's what happens when you stay up till midnight to watch Star Wars. And there's more than one stuff dropped.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, I would have been up really late if I tried to watch that stuff last night. I ended up streaming, I think, till like a little after 4:00 or something. So then when I was done, when I was done streaming, you know, it's like, I think whenever you're, you know, like it's hard to just go right to sleep. So then we didn't go right to sleep after that. And then, yeah, I had to be up like at 6:30 for work. So I didn't get much sleep last night. So I was kind of like dragging at the beginning. But then, like I said, just all the Star Wars stuff like got me hype. So you know, I was excited.
The other thing that Hugh and I got to do this week with regards to Star Wars is we got to go see Return of the Jedi in theaters. Yeah. And I believe, as far as I can remember, that's the first time I've ever seen this one in theaters. I've seen Empire before, I think, when I was real little. It was like in the 96 re-release, but I would have been like 5 maybe. So, and this is, yeah, the first time I got to see Return of the Jedi in theaters, and it was pretty special. It was pretty great. I enjoyed that, and I kind of hope they continue to do that stuff for some of the older movies.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. Because that's my favorite of the original trilogy, but I've seen it hundreds of times, right? Like I've seen it so much. But what I tried to do was, like, with the big screen, I tried to like look in the background, like in Jabba's palace, and like look in the background and try to see the aliens that you don't normally get to see when you're watching on your computer monitor or even on a TV at home. And that was kind of interesting stuff.
Yeah, it was pretty great. I am glad we got that opportunity, and I'm glad that they did that, because yeah, kind of, it was interesting to just be able to look and be in an actual theater, because I actually haven't been in that. I haven't seen that many movies in theaters since COVID came out. Really, I've
since COVID came out, like it was released. It came out on
Blu-ray.
It came out on digital.
It's a physical copy.
Was it January of 2020 or something?
Yeah, because I mean, I've seen a couple movies now. Avatar.
That's the only one I've seen is Avatar.
Yeah, maybe that is the only one, and now Star Wars. And
before that, it was Rise of Skywalker was the last one we saw in theaters.
Yeah, Rise of Skywalker in December 2019. Maybe I saw it once in January 2020. Because I know I went and saw it at least 3 times. But anyway, it's a different experience to go see a Star Wars movie. Now,
And it was like I had messaged you guys. It was the first time I watched Return of the Jedi since I've watched the Obi-Wan show, and I feel like that Obi-Wan show really puts a lot of it builds on what's already established, and the conversation that Luke has with Obi-Wan about Obi-Wan's like he's more machine than man. So from what I said to you was true. Anakin or Darth Vader betrayed Anakin, and from Obi-Wan's viewpoint, that was exactly what happened.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Vader said to him. I killed Anakin. So it really makes you think like Obi-Wan wasn't lying. This is really what he believed.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Luke talks to Vader, you have the line of that name no longer has any meaning for me. And that's how Vader felt too. That's really what he felt until he got that connection with his son. Until that point, he was pretty much completely consumed by the dark side. It was that connection to another Skywalker that brought Anakin Skywalker back into his head.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I agree, because another thing I kind of picked up on that maybe I've missed before is that Luke is telling him, I feel the conflict within you.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
And you're like, there is no conflict. And you again, with that Obi-Wan show, you could see him like trying to bury it. He's trying to bury it down. But what I realized is in that scene when Vader goes, maybe if you won't join us, then maybe she will.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe, and he's talking about Leia. But when you're in that scene, one thing I kind of never noticed, but you see, because all you see is Vader, but what you see on him is nothing but a blue reflection coming off of his eyes and his armor. And considering that we know that they did that, Luke was in all black to symbolize his choice that he would have to make, it was really cool to basically, I took that as, okay, they're showing us that that Vader's basically going to have to make the same choice with the blue reflecting off of his armor and off his helmet in that moment. So I thought that was a really cool. The other thing is that I kind of never really realized, but I picked up on, is in the movie, everything is kind of, it seems like it's going downhill. Now, Quinton believes that the Endor battle, the Forest Moon battle, was starting to turn around already, but realistically, nothing had officially happened yet until the moment where Luke makes the choice and says, "No, you have failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi like my father." And in that moment, the next scene it cuts to is them blowing up the satellite that's controlling the shield. As soon as he makes that choice, it's almost like the entire galaxy was hinging on Luke's choice. Because once he makes that choice, the light side flows, the satellite's destroyed, the shield comes down, and the attack on the Death Star commences. Like right after his choice, that's when it finally happens. And so I never had looked at it like that before, and so it was kind of a new revelation for me. It was an interesting thing that I just kind of noticed that I loved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like that movie obviously has so many like really epic moments. Like you just talking about that conversation when they're walking, Luke and his dad, Luke and Vader, it gave me goosebumps like thinking about it, because like you can't see Vader's face, but we know it. It's Hayden Christensen, so like we can see him. We could see like his face through it, kind of like, in the Obi-Wan show when, he gets his mask cut, right? And we get to see his face, and you can see him still doing that back and forth. And like you said, I love that part, because Luke is getting like under his skin just as much as vice versa. You know, they're really playing back and forth on each other. And so like like you said, like about the conflict when he snips back real quick, there is no conflict, but it's like, there is, why is it making you so mad then? Like it's just kind of fun. Like that whole scene is so cool. And I think like, I know a lot of people have talked about this over the years, including George, and Mark, but I feel like rewinding history and going back to that moment when people really didn't know what was going to happen. You don't know what the choice was. And I think like what you're saying, like, the whole universe was like almost hinging on what Luke was going to do. It really would have changed everything. And maybe not even necessarily 100% to the bad. They could have still did what Vader wanted, killed the Emperor, and then they ruled together, type situation like he always wanted. But it's like there is so much hinging on not only Luke's decision, but then Anakin's subsequent decision after that. So like I feel like it was two super superpowers like in like this epic standoff of morality and family and like like there's arrogance in there and there's just like so much just all wrapped up in there. And like so I think it's like super underrated, I think to this day, because with cinema, we get so much stuff and we want everything. We want fast and, we want action at like every second. And so like sometimes some of those moments get like, I guess brushed aside, but like you were saying, it's like, so that movie was so epic in like so many different little pieces of dialogue.
I think that's why Star Wars is different, especially with George, because he basically would write these stories so that we're not just getting action for action's sake. Like the action means something. The fight between Vader and Luke in Return of the Jedi is the most emotional lightsaber duel in the entire series, in all of Star Wars. Maybe, I mean, I guess you could, the only one I could consider that would be just as emotional or even close is the last episode of the Obi-Wan show between Obi-Wan and Vader. That and
I'm watching that right now.
Or their original duel in Revenge of the Sith. Because especially the way it ends where Obi-Wan's practically crying, "You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you." Those are the moments that make those duels so epic. Okay, the Phantom Menace duel between Obi-Wan and Maul and Qui-Gon is epic, but it doesn't mean the same as those other three that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Even
it means a lot to Obi-Wan, but I don't know. Yeah, like you're saying, it's totally different. Like the spectrum of that battle, like it's gonna push now Obi-Wan in a certain path. Maybe it's gonna push him a little bit further out from where he usually stands with the Jedi Council to be like, no, I just watched my master die in front of my eyes and I promised him this, so I will do this.
Yeah.
Like where he never would have. But besides that, like it wasn't, it wasn't the same. I think like what you're saying, even like the battle on Mustafar, like I think there's two sides to that too, because just as emotional as Obi-Wan was, like you could see Anakin was too.
The opposite emotions.
Yeah, the opposite emotions, but at the same time, it's kind of like, when you get in like a crazy fight with a family member, like you and your brother get in like a big fight, and it's like you're like, oh man, like like the same thing, like you have all these anger emotions or whatever, like, but it's just because of the heat of the moment and what it is. And so I kind of feel like that with Anakin as well. Like he's going back and forth, he's still having that change. He's feeling all of those negative feelings of like betrayal and stuff like that, on top of like going in, like getting pulled to the dark side. And it's like, it's almost like the emotion of like that when he's like, I hate you, like it's like it's epic. It's not like it's almost just as powerful for him to like have that crazy of an emotion towards Obi-Wan after everything that they'd been through together too, which the Clone Wars, like even on top of everything else, just really compacted their relationship. So you go through all that crazy relationship, and then now you feel like your brother, mentor, or whatever is now betraying you. It's definitely more emotional, like that one versus the Qui-Gon one. Whereas I feel like the Qui-Gon one almost reminds me of the Obi-Wan Vader fight, their last fight, where it's not like it is emotional in a sense, but not like hardcore emotional. It's more like, Qui-Gon is content with passing. And then like, so is like Obi-Wan, like he's like content with passing in that battle and at peace, whereas like those other battles we talked about, no one was at peace. No,
Yeah.
it was just all bad. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean the epic thing that will always live on in our hearts with the Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Maul duel is just, it was the first time we saw lightsabers used like that, acrobatic and athletic individuals in a lightsaber duel, and that will always be the first time we saw that, and it'll always hold that special place.
I know. I was even like going down the Twitter rabbit hole of people commenting on stuff, and it was just people commenting on Phantom Menace and saying, well, it's if that's your favorite. So someone had said, like, if that's your favorite Star Wars movie, then you're not a Star Wars fan. And I'm just like, what?
That's so lame.
I mean,
that's lame to me because I love that movie. That's my favorite prequel. It's just
and
not to subtract from Revenge of the Sith, because that's an epic movie too. And that's actually, I really hope, I saw somebody saying it's going to be what, the 20th anniversary coming up next
25
year? 25. I hope they bring that back in theaters, because I know I saw it in theaters, but I would have been 11. I want to see that. I want to see Revenge of the Sith in theaters again. That would be cool. But the Phantom Menace
would be epic, because Revenge of the Sith is my favorite.
Yeah, well, the Revenge of the Sith, I mean, of the original 6 movies, was always the one that looked the best. Like, it was, the technology in that movie was fantastic. Especially the opening scene in that movie is like the great. I remember seeing it for the first time, and that was you know me in the space battles guy. That opening scene just was it for me. It was so good.
I see people online comparing CGI then to now, and they basically are like, look at how much better CGI was almost 20 years ago when George Lucas was making movies.
Yeah.
You know what I want, like, just in general, across all the Star Wars movies, is like a director's cut. You know how they have like those now, where like they add in like deleted scenes and stuff like that. There's so many amazing deleted scenes across all the Star Wars movies that like later, way years later, we get to see them. And then some of them are like not even fully like filmed, but they're like, they're like the art and stuff of it and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my goodness, like this is such an epic part of the movie. And it makes like this and this makes so much more sense. It makes this way more important. Like in the Revenge of the Sith, there were so many moments with like Windu and Yoda, and even Anakin going to like meet the family, like all of this stuff like would have made it all so much more epic. And whether they had to cut it for time or why it specifically was cut, all these little pieces. But I was like, man, I would love like add another 30 minutes on, like, let's see Yoda talking to Qui-Gon Jinn,
I don't know, I
and
want
stuff,
more of that.
like stuff like that. Like, man, just like I would love to like have a little bit more of some of that stuff.
Empire Strikes
Have
Back
you
was
not
on.
heard? Have you not heard that there is rumors that there's like a 4-hour cut of Revenge of the Sith that never been seen?
What the heck? That'd
Yeah.
be crazy.
I would be all for that.
Oh yeah.
But you're talking
There's
about-
always been that rumors. I always see it
Yoda-
all the time, and everyone's like, "Oh, we want it so bad," or but it's never gonna happen.
Talking about Yoda and talking to Qui-Gon, and The Empire Strikes Back was on the TV in our break room at work today. Obviously, it was just Star Wars Day. And it was the part where Luke meets Yoda for the first time, and Yoda's acting like completely crazy.
Yeah.
And people are like, man, he's been alone for so long. And I'm like, but he hasn't. He's had Qui-Gon. I guess
true.
with the two of them, you'd still go a little crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
You imagine Yoda and Qui-Gon just arguing about the way the Jedi should have been done, and
The fall of the Jedi for 20 years.
Mhm.
And then Obi-Wan dies and joins them. And he's got to come in and correct both of them, be the mediator between the two of them.
Oh, man.
that sounds great.
Qui-Gon's like, about time you joined me.
This is your fault for not using Force speed that I'm even here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of talking about the prequels, that's opening scene in Revenge of the Sith, and then talk about that duel with Maul and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. And somebody made a tweet today. I don't remember who it was, but it was said, no matter any of your feelings on Star Wars, we have never been let down by John Williams. No matter how you feel about the prequels, about the original trilogy, about the sequels, he has nailed every single thing he's ever done.
Yeah,
I love that.
And it's not just contained to Star Wars either.
Yeah,
Indiana Jones,
sure.
Jurassic Park.
But I'm watching that intro to episode 3 and just the drums, and then you get the screech of the Jedi starfighters, and the music all the music comes in and starts playing, and it's just an epic start to a movie.
Yeah, there's just so much to love about Star Wars, and I like the and I think there's a place in all of them. And you were just talking about the 20th anniversary coming up for Revenge of the Sith, and I'm surprised that they did this the 40th anniversary. And I get it, 40 is better than or bigger than 20, but I mean, coming up is realistically the. Oh no, it was 2002. That's right. Okay, so 20th anniversary for Attack of the Clones was last year.
Yeah,
That's why we had the panel and all the stuff they talked about on Attack of the Clones last year. Yeah, that's right. Okay. My mind was thinking
celebration.
Yeah. So yeah, the next one is the 20th for Revenge of the Sith. Oh, that would be I would love to see that movie in theaters again. The only thing I was kind of disappointed with Return of the Jedi is just mostly because I wanted to see it in the IMAX and there was no IMAX showings playing.
That would have been insane.
But
what's the thing is, like, I thought it looked epic, like the high fidelity of just like it looked really good. It didn't look like an old movie. I mean, a little of the CGI and stuff, like you could tell that Lando was standing in front of a painting of the Millennium Falcon. But
that's what happens when you turn a movie made for 480i TVs at the time into a 4K movie. You can tell the pictures.
If it was actually on film there is no pixels in film, and that's why going to the theaters always looked way better than when you watched it at home.
Yeah,
and I kind of felt that way when I was watching it. Like, it looked insane. It looked so good.
You guys got to look at the tweet that I just tagged you guys in. Did you see it?
No.
It was a tweet from Carl Withers.
Okay. I will look it up.
Man, he looks good.
Oh, I'm a high magistrate. I want a miniature version
High
of that
magistrate.
for Grogu.
Yeah.
I want a miniature version of that for Grogu. He would look so good in those robes, but I want it to come from him, like he's giving it to him so that he can look like him, like on purpose. And then I want Grogu to wear it as like respecting his friend.
Yeah, whenever there's like a moment, they have like a little event and he's all dressed up.
Yeah.
That would be too great.
Did you guys see that Carrie Fisher got her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame today?
Oh yeah, that's so cool.
That was, and they had Billy Lord and Mark Hamill doing it, and I saw some pictures from it. It's pretty cool. I just like looking at Twitter and like everything that's trending is all Star Wars.
I know, I love it.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then because everyone's talking Ahsoka, so we've got that coming up, and we just finished with Celebration and
just got Jedi Survivor. I've barely gotten into that. I spent probably an hour trying to fight a Rancor the other day, and I mean the fights would last like 35 to 40 seconds before I was killed and had to start over. I did that for about an hour. Felt like I was smashing my head against a wall.
That's great. Yeah, I haven't played too much of it. I just been super busy, but I want to get into playing more of it. I do want to stream it. I think that will be my goal whenever I get chance to play it, I'll be streaming it. But yeah, that's another one that I'm really looking forward to. I've also been like trying to stay away from all the spoilers that are coming out and everything, because I know I'm gonna play it. I know I'm gonna get in there. I've just been super busy this last week and a half or so, and I'm totally gonna play it. I totally want to talk about it. So far it looks great. It's a little disappointing on the performance side, which it isn't entirely surprising considering the fact we know that they had delayed it for almost 2 months. I think maybe it was more than 2 months. They delayed it to probably try to fix that. Supposedly it's not as bad on console, but I don't play games on console, so I'm sitting here trying to play on my PC, getting 40 FPS.
See, the settings I put it, I was always above 60. Like it ran 60 to 70 pretty smooth, which is sad considering the hardware I have, but at the same time, like it was perfectly playable, and I was totally enjoying it. It wasn't stuttering or laggy for me.
So here's a question for you guys. So I didn't really have like the stuttery, like anything like funky, and I didn't have like FPS up or anything like that, but it felt good that way. I was just having issues where I would just lose control. Like the controller wouldn't even work, and the guy would Cal would just start walking off and like weird stuff like that, and then it would just crash. It'd freeze and crash. But what I was gonna say that I noticed is just like the other game, like everything looked beautiful. Like the buildings, like the environment was like absolutely gorgeous. But Cal, for some reason, for us, looked horrible. Really? So I was like, yeah, like he looked like
interesting,
like grainy kind of even. And I was like, what the heck's going on here? Like, so I don't know. Hopefully it like
you've got to try it with the new patch, and hopefully that fixes it.
Yeah, so maybe mine was just all funky, and hopefully I jump in and it's just like all crispy, know. But yeah, like Hezekiah, like he's been so excited to play it, and I was like, we gotta wait, make sure it's all good, and so he's like jumped back into playing Fallen Order again just because he wants to play so bad. He's playing Fallen Order like on his save on his computer, but nice. We hopefully it they figure it out pretty quick. And I mean, obviously it being this big, I'm sure they're just
Oh yeah.
working around the clock to get this.
I've seen a lot of
fixed.
people that aren't like, they're not like reviewers or they're not like magazines or YouTube channels, but they're saying a lot of people are saying best Star Wars game ever.
Yeah,
And,
it's
I
for
mean,
story
that's-
wise and gameplay wise, it's getting rave reviews. I don't think they take
Yeah, the story
when they're
is what
reviewing
was
it.
amazing.
When they review a game, they don't necessarily take its performance into account necessarily.
And I'm like super excited to dive into that and then get to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. But even the beginning, like when you first start the game, man, it gets you so hype. Kind of like flashing through.
The recap.
So when you're at the menu, and it's the Jedi Temple with Imperial flags on it.
Oh,
and
that
then
was
you click
like
start, and it's literally right there is where you start. That's so cool. That's so cool.
It was cool, and I'm also like, I feel like Cal, like anger, because it just disgusts me to see those Imperial emblems in the red on the Jedi Temple. It's like, I feel like the anger that Cal would have just seeing that, but then I'm like, that's not the Jedi way.
But that's where I'm like, I'm not a Jedi anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true, because like even like the end of the game, there, I don't know, there's something that like supersedes like the Jedi Order that we know of, like in the prequels and on, right? Where you don't see even like Yoda like kind of go against until the sequel trilogy, when he like burns all the books. He
doesn't burn the books though, because Rey took them.
Right, yeah. And like, okay, let's not get into that.
Don't forget how perfect she was.
Yeah. Yeah, unscathed, she grabs the books out of there. But anyways, so like he's just like proving a point though, right? And so I feel like it's crazy because Cal's so young, but like the story is so well written in Fallen Order that by the time that he decides to destroy the holocron, like it's understandable, and he's making that point too, kind of like he's taking a different path, like similar to like what we've seen with Qui-Gon and Ahsoka and stuff like that, which is really cool, because that was like the kind of like the ending where you're like, oh my goodness, he just did that, and like what's next. So
I will tell you, the instant I could change it, my lightsaber was white.
Yeah. Nice. Man, and I love too, like I think it was on Celebration when they had the people in talking about it and stuff like that, because I always thought it was cool to have like the different stances in the first one, but then now what did they say, they added like 5 or something?
So there's 4. So there's double-bladed, single-bladed crossguard, which I haven't unlocked yet, and then 2 dual-wield, 1 on each hand.
Nice.
And they're all like they're different things. Like dual wield, 1 on each hand is like for fast large groups. The just one single is like just your everything's pretty even. No, there's no disadvantages to it and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. And
I can't wait to get more into it.
RPG stuff. RPG elements to it of like I'm putting most of my experience points into the Force, because I want to be able to just Force push everybody off the map. It's like that's how I play the game.
Yeah, that's Hezekiah too. Like anytime he can, he's like just Force pushing people off cliffs and sides of like walkways and stuff. So it doesn't even battle them.
Because I remember like in the Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, or the Jedi Academy games, you'd always fight Dark Jedi, and they're always really hard to defeat. Like if you were just fighting with the saber, you'd lose a lot of health, and they'd do a lot of damage to you. So what I always did was you could Force choke them and would pick them up, but they would always use the Force to push you back, unless you like just quickly looked over the edge and dropped them. You like fling them real quick, and like that's how I always dealt with them.
So that's an old one, but I love it. I seen there was an update for Jedi Outcast that it's now playable on Quest in VR.
What?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Is that the one you have?
Yeah, I have a Quest.
Why did we not? You figure this out.
I need to figure that out how to do it. But it was just a post that I had seen scrolling by, and I'm like, oh, interesting. But yeah, it was pretty sure it was Jedi Outcast. I would really hope, and you know what would really be awesome is a Jedi Academy remaster.
I love that game.
That game was
that's not Luke's future.
Yeah. That's another character I want to see brought in though. Kyle Katarn. Yeah,
but Kyle Katarn's big claim to fame was that he stole the Death Star plans, and we know that's not true in current canon.
Yeah, but
that was like the whole story of the Dark Forces game originally was you were Kyle Katarn stealing the Death Star plans.
But think of what's happening here. We're gonna get Thrawn, and we got Thrawn in Rebels, and we've got some of these books and seen what he's done. But it's pretty. They're at least going to reference a lot of, or use a lot of the reference material from Heir to the Empire, because they literally said it in the trailer. They wouldn't that would be really stupid to tease it. To tease that even just a little bit for hardcore fans and then not pull stuff out of there.
Well, especially from the book. That's pretty much like the main Star Wars story that Legends people really like. That was what happened in Star Wars after Return of the Jedi. So if you were to use it was that name but not do anything with it, you'd really upset them.
But that's kind of what I'm saying is that he kind of got like a little origin in Rebels, but they're still doing somewhat of his original story, because what you're saying though is Kyle Katarn's claim to fame was that he stole the Death Star plans, but realistically in the games that's like his backstory. It's not the story that you play.
It is in the very original Dark Forces game.
The Dark Forces, okay.
The one that's Doom like.
Yeah, okay.
From like the soup. Yeah, I mean, I've never really played. I mean, I played the first mission because I bought it on like PlayStation.
Yeah, I think I have it too, but it's real hard to play.
Yeah. That's why I like the Outcast and Jedi Academy are still playable to this day. I feel like.
Yeah, especially if you can play them at if you take a PC and play them at their max settings, just because that's one thing you can't do like with a console version. It basically you just play the version that was released to the consoles, even though your console now that you're probably playing on an Xbox One X or something, or even a regular Xbox is more powerful than what it initially came out on. So with a PC you can play the best version of it, whereas console you kind of are just stuck with the version that came out for console at that time.
Yeah,
because there's no remaster. And yeah, I think you're right. You're never going to get a remaster of that, just for the simple fact that again that's not really canon anymore. Those stories are not where canon went. But I still feel like,
I mean, if they did it now, it would be Rey as the main Jedi, and Finn would be the Kyle Katarn figure.
Yeah,
which I wouldn't necessarily hate, as long as they gave me a good story where you're just like Finn is your main master. I'd be kind of a cool like side video game.
So the other thing too, with the Thrawn instance, we're seeing the Ahsoka show. Most people believe that if we're getting Heir to the Empire, that Ahsoka is basically taking Luke's place in the Heir to the Empire. It won't be Luke that does all those things. It might be Ahsoka, which could be real interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate that. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of a fan of Ahsoka. She's pretty good. What about you, Josiah? Do you like that character?
Yeah, I feel like she is a pretty good character to have a show based off
Here,
of. So
here's a question: do you think we'll ever see the end of Ahsoka?
no, she'll never die.
She's master of the worlds between worlds.
Yeah.
That's like a lot of people have thought that she might, like, if you get the actual end, that she might become more like exactly what you just said, the master, move into a different realm, or basically where she would be like the master of the world between worlds. And it's going to be super interesting to see what happens like that, because it looks a lot like they're in the world between worlds in the Ahsoka show. There is a lot of things that look like that, that look very similar. And if she's fighting, what was his name, Balon, the orange sabered guy,
Yeah.
in there, so obviously he gets access to it. So it'd be kind of, I mean, there's so many possibilities that can happen with this show. I've seen reports of this show that they like leaks that basically say you're not going to know what's going on and what is actually happening, what the story is of this show, until the very last scene of the show. And I'm like, oh, I just can't wait. Like, is it August yet?
Because as Rebels was even like being written, it was like a dream to see that in live action. So like, they're doing everything they can to be able to still like to put a lot of that stuff in there, but to make it look really good in live action, because a lot of times that's difficult, to do. And we've seen it with like the Purgils, right? Too.
I have faith that it's gonna look good, because all we needed, I believe, was seeing Zeb in the Mandalorian. Seeing Zeb in the Mandalorian was
so
like
good.
I think so many people were worried about that. Like out of the whole crew, obviously, like how is he gonna look? And he is exactly what I thought he would look like.
Right.
Like it was him.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah. So if that's what he looks like, if they continue, I don't have any doubt that it won't be amazing. And I think I kind of hope, like, the first time you see Thrawn, it should be like this mega entrance, and it's just like goosebumps of like what's gonna happen, what is he gonna do on his first entrance. Oh man, this show's gonna be epic.
Yeah, shout out to Cal Lily. We keep on missing her chats, but she said, not me, who only loves summer, waiting for summer to end so I can watch my favorite Star Wars character. Yes. Yeah. If you could do that, just fast forward through summer to immediately be watching Ahsoka, I would sacrifice a summer for that. Like, watch that now.
Like, there's just so much, and there's still no announcement for skeleton crew, but talks are, it still says 2023. I'm assuming it's gonna like come in at the buzzer sometime late in December, I'm gonna assume, and it'll count for 2023. But I'm excited. I love what we've gotten. Ahsoka's story. The fact is that I think Dave loves Ahsoka too much as his creation, his story, and because he's been there from the start. He's one of the few people that have created her, that are still there, that are still doing that, and he had one of the biggest influences on how the character developed. That I don't know if I definitely think that there's no way she dies in this series. No way. Especially because we have Dave Filoni's uh, a movie coming up. So
yeah. No, I don't think she'll. I don't think that's anything to worry about.
yeah.
And I'm just scrolling through Hasbro's Black Series stuff, and I realized
Oh,
I absolutely want the Grief Karga action figure in those robes. That would be hard to pass up. That would be so cool.
Oh, that's great.
And they have a new one, action figures Star Wars the Black Series Force Ghost 3-pack, and it's Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Yoda from Return of the Jedi. And I was just like, I remember I almost teared up at that point in Return of the Jedi, watching it in the theaters. And I know a lot of times people complain about Hayden Christensen being added into that point, but it's like, for me, just my personal opinion, that's the Anakin I grew up with. Like, I got him in as that actor in Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. You see him animated in the Clone Wars for 7 seasons. Like, that's my Anakin to me, and it reminds me of it's Anakin before Vader killed him.
mhm.
Right? Anytime after Vader, it's Vader that killed Anakin. And just like I talked about earlier, that was Obi-Wan getting to see that Vader was wrong and that Anakin is still there. And that's what I just I almost teared up at that point. And I'm totally okay with that change and Return of the Jedi. Especially with the way we know about now, with Vader being adamant that he killed Anakin.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's kind of funny though. That's not even entirely true, because even when he's trying to tell that to Obi-Wan in the Obi-Wan show, and he's like, "No, I killed Anakin," but he said just only a couple episodes earlier in the show, and when Obi-Wan's like, "What are you?" and he goes, "I am what you made me." So he's not entirely. You know that's not entirely true, and it's never true. There's always that conflict in Vader, and that's the best thing. I mean, that's why the conflict is there. That's why it's good. And I think that's the lesson of, especially of the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, is I think George is trying to tell stories about coming of age, and this is how you might have to go out in the world and face these tough decisions, but you got to do them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the original trilogy. The prequel trilogy is basically just, hey, these are all the same decisions that Luke had to make, but look what happens when he makes the wrong choice. Luke had that moment.
Mhm.
He literally, Palpatine, he was angry, and he was literally beating Vader's. He just was beating Vader's saber while Vader's just trying to hold on to the rail until it pops open and he cuts his hand off. He's full of anger,
Mhm.
but he makes the right choice. He's at that same moment that the Anakin has, but it's the right choice. And I think that's what's great about Star Wars. It doesn't have to be a lesson about doing the right thing always. Sometimes you can take lessons from, hey, this was a bad decision and how it turned out for him. Because look at what happened to Anakin. He made the wrong decision, and he killed the entire family that he ever had in the Jedi. He lost his wife, thought he even killed her and his children, lost his best friend, who he then claimed to hate, his absolute best friend, who's always been there, no matter whether Obi-Wan does not agree with Anakin. So many times in the Clone Wars, he does not agree with the way Anakin handles things, but he never doesn't back him. When they're talking to the Jedi Council, he's always got Anakin's back regardless of what happened, basically. And so these are the consequences of your actions, and that's what the prequel trilogy is showing. And that's why
Yeah.
they're kind of backwards, because they both Anakin and Luke are parallels, and it's just more or less one shows what when happens when you make the correct choices, and the other is showing what happens when you make the wrong choices.
No. I kind of like, I mean, I agree with like the overall thing, what you're saying, but I kind of view his story a little bit different. I think like Anakin's story is based out of love for family. And, so from the very beginning, the first time that, we kind of like see that, oh, wait a second, what's going on, with him is because of his mom, right? So, and like that's the first time that he kind of goes crazy is because of what happened to his mom. And I think that's why for a lot of people it was understandable. Like, are we going to go and like, the average person going to do something like that? No, but you could understand, his feelings about the situation. And then now you throw in the, basically the fact that he's a superhero, like super powered individual, like you could see how that could easily happen. And then as you go along, there's lots of little moments where, let's say when Padme falls, it just like Padme being in danger, he makes the choices based out of love for her, any of the different times. And then now fast forwarding, he's now seeing premonitions of, like you said, like the only person in the world that he truly loves, which is Padme now, because like his mom is now like has already passed away at this point. So now he's seeing those same premonitions he saw of his mother, which came to fruition. He's seeing that happen, like it's understandable that he's just like, my mom died because I saw the premonitions and I didn't do anything fast enough. And so he's like, I have to do something before the same thing happens. And then perfect timing, we have one of the most conniving, deceiving, manipulative cis of all time talking in his ear and telling him exactly what he wants to hear. So like all of that kind of stuff, like you can see like that's his decisions. And so why I think that makes more sense to me personally is because then you fast forward to Luke, he makes the same decisions. He's always going to, in the end, like make decisions based on family. But the difference is with Luke, he was taking sides with Luke versus against the Emperor, if that makes sense. Like I think in those moments, he wasn't saying, yes, I don't, like the Emperor's bad and I don't want to be with him. And so I'm going to take this other route. He was saying, I'm going to choose my son, no matter what the consequences are, to me or the galaxy. Like he didn't care about that. He made that connection with his son and realized based out of love for him that he was going to choose him. And so I think, all of those things are really his same characteristics that we've seen his whole life. Like, I don't think he's changed that way. I just think, it was more like he was trying to make decisions based out of protecting his family and love for his family, but he was being deceived by the dark side, like I don't think if like the Emperor was there, would he have went that far. He would have still made decisions to protect his family over the Jedi. He would abandon the Jedi in a heartbeat if he had to for Padme, or for his kids in the future. I think that's where the fault lies, is with the Emperor more than like him. Like I think he probably is like a little more passionate and hardcore than the average person, but I think a lot of people in the same situation would do that. Like if they found out that their mom had been abused and tortured and all this type of stuff, like I mean
Yes. Okay. I'm not arguing the fact that he was not misled and deceived. That's definitely true. But at the same time, I feel like you could you can say I was deceived, but realistically, you still committed those acts. He still committed genocide on the Jedi. It's not he was deceived, but he still carried out those horrific acts that we are continually seeing more and more of. Him murdering younglings, like in the Kenobi show, like where they actually showed him doing it.
Not Reva.
But
It's okay. Getting stabbed by a lightsaber doesn't kill you anymore.
Yeah.
anymore. Maybe
Except
it's
Kylo Ren.
Hey, Qui-Gon Jinn.
Oh no.
No.
So, but I also think that yes, he did it out of love for his family, but it's like, okay, I think that's kind of what George's message was a little bit too, is like, how much do you love someone that you would commit these horrific acts for? And that's clearly too much attachment. That if you could love someone so much that you were willing to commit an entire genocide for them, I think it's a little off base there.
But at no point was the genocide of the Jedi for Padme.
No, it was for the Emperor, but
Well, yeah, in a way it was, because he.
Yeah, I guess because
he basically held hostage.
The only way you could save Padme is if you serve me.
He held hostage the information that Anakin wanted in order for him to do his bidding, the Emperor's bidding.
Right.
But it wasn't Anakin that committed the genocide against the Jedi.
I mean, he marched on the Jedi Temple. Come on.
No, he didn't.
Yes,
When?
he did. He
When?
marched on the Jedi Temple. It's in the movie, dude.
No. I think you're
Yes.
wrong.
No.
It's
He
Darth
marched
Vader.
on the.
It's Darth Vader that does it after he kills
Yeah.
Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Anakin doesn't do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Anakin,
loving this
Anakin is
distinction
not
of-
dead. Anakin is not dead in that moment, and you know it because in Mustafar he is crying. You see him standing there crying. He still has that conflict, regretting his own actions. So you know Anakin is not dead there. Anakin is not dead
dying.
until after
He's dying.
after that fight.
Anakin is dead after he learns Padme has died. But it's not Anakin
Yes.
that puts Padme in a chokehold. It's Vader. It's the anger from Vader that does it.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Because if he did all those things
Yeah.
to save Padme,
This is a fun episode.
if he did all those things to save Padme, why would he then turn around and choke her?
Yeah.
No, that was Vader.
Yep. And then he
Being blinded by the dark
he didn't
side.
kill her either.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Which is one of the biggest lies, which pushes
Palpatine
him
killed her.
further. Yeah, it was pushing further into the dark side. That lie made him like the Vader that we see in the Obi-Wan show. Because of that, those couple of lies. One, the first lie saying you killed Padme, and then the second lie is that the children didn't survive. Those two things made him walk through the streets and just be snapping necks. That's those two things.
Yeah, for sure. And it took his son that he didn't learn about until much later to bring Anakin back to the surface.
Mm-hmm.
That for him to realize that he didn't kill everything that he loved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that the hallway scene in Rogue One, that was Vader, man. That wasn't Anakin. That was Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
'Cause at that
This
point,
is-
he didn't know Luke was alive.
This is
What
the
about
exact
the-
kind of discussion that I was envisioning when I said let's just talk about Star Wars and we'll see where it goes.
What about the hallway scene with Luke? The Mandalorian.
Like father, like son.
Oh man.
Except
That's
he's only
good.
killing droids.
True.
But are droids people?
Oh,
No.
not to Din for sure.
Depends on who they are, because if it's
Depends on the
R2D2 or
droid.
C3PO, those are people.
Or Chopper.
Yeah.
He's just a little psychotic.
So, yeah, I mean,
I'm
battle
on
droids.
that
nah.
topic. On that topic, I do think that droids can have personalities and evolve in ways beyond just being mechanical. But your average clanker walking around shooting up, like just following the program and its chip to the T is not more than just a droid.
I like that
Those
take.
droids, the Dark Trooper droids, are just programmed murder bots. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not thinking. They're not like R2D2 or C3PO or Chopper, or even K2SO.
L3.
L3. Yep. That's so cool. She's gonna be like when you're watching the kind of preview for Indiana Jones, and Tom's like, "That's the voice of L3," and as soon as you said it, I could not hear it. Like that's just L3.
Mhm.
I love it. I'm excited.
You know, Chad agrees that droids matter too.
Yeah.
Some droids matter too.
Some droids matter too. Yeah, I
think
agree.
I think
Battle
there
droids are just.
there could be a distinct difference between just a machine that has a little bit more technology than it's a computer basically, and then there are some that have personalities into their
Well,
programming.
I mean, you can easily see that in R2 and C3PO in Return of the Jedi when he's like, R2 is going to go down into the battle and try to open the door. And C3PO is like, why are you doing this now? Obviously, 3PO would not have made the same decision. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and then when he gets blasted and he's all, you see the electricity thing, and C3PO goes, oh, why do you have to be so brave?
They're like, I do hope after R2 comes back all smashed and C3PO goes, I can donate some of my parts if necessary. Like,
yeah. Yeah, because they have a real bond. I agree.
That's why I love that in Star Wars, because you can have just the functioning brainless programmed machine, and then you can have these droids that B2 emo, like B2 was like the most emotional, like one of my favorite characters of the whole Andor show. Like that dude's got personality. He's not just, yeah, I loved his stutter. Oh, it made everything he said so painful.
And same like BB-8. He's not. He is Poe's. Thinking he's Poe's goose. He's his right hand man. You know, they're not.
Or when Luke tells R2 not to use language in the ancient Jedi temple.
Yeah.
Sacred Jedi temple, buddy. Watch the language. So Duchess says, don't do this to me. Chopper is my favorite droid. Chopper definitely makes his own decisions. You watch Rebels, he makes his own decisions. Sometimes he pays for them too.
I think Chopper is either directly or indirectly responsible for like the second or third most amount of deaths for any Star Wars character. Either through direct result or sabotage. His number is big.
Yeah. And seems like his killing spree might not be over.
Oh man, we're gonna get a live. There's no way he's like as energetic as he was in Rebels, but we're gonna get a live action Chopper.
You know that in Rebels he's voiced by Dave Filoni?
It's not surprising.
I didn't know that. That's funny.
He's the one that does Chopper. Just like
and Chopper.
Bill Hader was one of the main guys for all voice interactions for BB-8.
Yeah, Chopper definitely does not. Barely listens to Hera.
Yeah.
Like that episode where he wants to get a replacement leg, like he completely the mission goes in the tank, like completely doesn't care about the team, he just wants his leg. He wants a matching
Man,
leg.
I will say that. Say this, since we're talking about droids, that first episode of Visions, that little droid
Oh, I haven't
in
seen
there.
it yet.
Oh.
I mean, it's okay. You can talk about it. I just won't know what you're talking about.
Just
Tyler
that,
will know.
like, it's 15 minutes, it's 15-minute
Mm-hmm.
episode, and it's crazy. Like, you get attached to them, like you get attached to droids.
That's what I
There's
mean.
something
Like,
about them.
I don't agree. Like,
Oh,
I didn't
yeah.
like all of the episodes, but the ones that I did like, I'm like, okay, but that's it.
I want more of that character.
Yeah. Like, I kind of like that one. Could we skip some of those ones I didn't like, and I'll just have more of this? I'll take a second episode of this one.
Yeah, I think that's how it was, like, with the first season too. And yeah, like, I'm horrible about remembering what the episodes' names are, but the one where it's like the master and apprentice and they go fight, like,
Yeah, I like that one. That was one of my
old
favorites.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, man, if they could totally have like a whole season of them doing like missions together, and the master teaching the apprentice lessons along the way, like, it would have been so great.
Yeah.
But then like the Bohemian Rhapsody one or whatever it was.
Yes, I do remember the one where they're playing like what, Boon to Eve or something like that. It was they were their gig was Boon to Eve playing for the Huts.
It's just like I understand, like it was supposed to be funny, but like I feel like it was just, I don't know, it was a little out of place. Like I like, still, like, you can have humor in it, but like you still need like that drama to it, you know what I mean? Whereas like, like something to like care about, I think, for me.
I mean,
yeah,
I think humor definitely does, and I think it's funny that everyone always complained about Jar Jar, but does no one remember Wicket whipping the thing right in his own face?
Yeah.
Like,
that's literally what Jar Jar does in the battle. It's the same thing.
yeah.
The humor's always been there. There's always been some comic relief or some silliness, and everything's not gonna be Andor.
Yeah.
But everything's not gonna be the lighthearted, funny things either. And so I think, and from a personal standpoint, I believe that not every Star Wars story is going to hit you the way some of them do. Like, you might like the hardcore Andor stuff. I love it. I also like some of the goofy stuff in The Mandalorian. Like the very last episode when they're going into the bar and you see Grogu's walking. Like, just watch that part again. It's funny because it's like a total puppet trying to walk, and it doesn't even look close to real.
I love that when it's like, it's like, yeah, it's like he's running on like his toenails.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like,
It's true.
I mean, there's no doubt that all three of us really enjoyed the deep, dark stories of Andor.
Mm-hmm.
But I was smiling like crazy every time Grogu hit no, or just walking out in the street. Yes. Eating the food, holding it over Mando's head.
Mando, this is not working for me.
Imagine if Hezekiah had a robot that could overpower you, Josiah, and he could just do what he wanted.
Uh-huh.
You'd be saying the same thing. This is not working for me.
And I love that fact too. Like, I think we talked about it, but on that episode. But it's crazy because he's always so tiny and so little beside him, and then when he's in there, then he's taller than Mando. So he's
he's
larger.
like at that like almost head height with where he's sitting, and the droid is above that.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. It was such a cool, different like dynamic, and that Grogu just loved it.
Yeah.
This
for sure.
Yeah, and so exactly, like, there's gonna be silly moments in Star Wars. There's always has been comedic moments.
Yeah, serious moments.
And serious moments.
Everything. You get everything.
And so,
you know what? I'll say this, just because of the celebration here of May the 4th. I've been thinking just a lot about the future of Star Wars, the future of film and Star Wars. Q sent out a little funny GIF about Rey, and I know I love to hate on Rey, but I will say one thing. it's not her fault that she's so good. So I can't blame her.
Are you about to say it's Kathleen Kennedy's?
It's not her fault. Okay. She didn't mean to be just perfect. You know, like she is just living her life and she just happens to be that good. So I can't hate on her anymore. I really hope that moving forward, wherever she ends up playing, whatever she ends up doing, I hope that it levels out.
I just like the you hate Ray because she's perfect, but then you also hated what they did to Luke because he's not perfect.
Well, yeah, that's like the two opposite sides of the spectrum.
So-
I'll say the first movie he hated that because they did it to Han Solo.
Well, yeah, I don't need
Don't
him
get
to
him
be
started on
perfect.
Han Solo.
I don't need him to be
just not imperfect.
No,
Just
I
just
just want one of the greatest love stories of all time to have a good, happy ending. Like I want that, like, there to just, like, even with what happened to their son, I feel like it could have just been like such an amazing moment and tribute to both of them, to see them together coping with it, maybe in their own ways, but leaning on each other. You know, that kind of
I
sort of
agree with that.
situation.
I would have
And
loved.
and
I
it's
mean,
like
we kind of did. Just, I mean, maybe not to the extent that you're talking, but we kind of did. They have the conversation, like and Han literally says we had to deal with it in our own ways, and he's like, I went back to doing what I know, and you did this, and but they still have that moment, and they have that hug right before they leave, and she says, "Bring back our son." So I mean, they kind of do have that moment. So I don't know. Maybe not to the extent or how you pictured it in your mind. And here's the other thing I think about Ray, though, is we're at the opportunity, because people are like, there was a rumors that like we were gonna get a Ray movie set way in the future, and it was gonna be Helen Mirren that was gonna play Ray. That was like rumors.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And well, like I'm fine with that, but people are also like, why are we have this opportunity, unlike what earlier Star Wars was, we have this opportunity to see Rey as building the Jedi, basically in her prime, as not just a Jedi, but also as the actress, and have that ability to make that stuff. So why would we want to skip her prime and
Somebody else actor?
because
Yeah.
how much,
Because that was the biggest
how would
problem
you
when we
have,
did the sequels. We couldn't get these stories that we had known because
all the actors are 40 years older.
Yeah, we couldn't have Luke in his prime because Mark Hamill was 60,
In his late
70 years
60s.
old.
And Harrison Ford was, I think, what, 74 when they started filming, in his early 70s when they started filming Force Awakens. So yeah, you couldn't get them in their prime. But that's why we don't, that's why I'm excited about this, because, and I've also heard that why is his name, I just had it, John Boyega, I've heard rumors that have said that they've made up, and that there's a good chance he'll be in the Rey movie as well.
I hope he is, and I hope he's like, I hope it's not a Rey movie. I hope it's a Finn and Rey movie, or a Rey and Finn movie. Like, I
hope,
want him to have equal parts in that.
I hope that when he said that he has to tell her something, he meant to say that he like has the Force.
I mean, that's canon,
you know, and not that he loves
Quinton's
her.
right. Remember the Lego Star Wars.
The Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation is technically canon. It's a canon story.
Ish.
And you have he's raised off to.
I almost take those as
Rey goes off
like
to
a book.
find the history of the Jedi, and it's almost like Finn is going to start the Jedi, and Rey is going to be like the librarian of the Jedi.
I mean,
And-
if we're
but, like-
gonna take this, I need live action.
No, I
Emperor
know.
and Vader at the beach. I need to see it then.
Just the helmet.
Ian McDermott would do it.
Yeah, he would. Oh man, like a little Hawaiian shirt.
Oh.
Oh man, but yeah,
But then
I
when-
agree
when-
with you. If that is the case, like, yeah, I think that
When
that
the
would
other
be great.
Force Ghost Jedi address him as a Jedi too. So, I mean, if you take that as the stories they tell, then Finn is for sure post Episode 9. Finn is a Jedi.
So the movie is supposed to take place 15 years after Rise of Skywalker. And the funny thing is about that it's only supposed to come out 10 years after Force Awakens. So they're skipping 15 years ahead of Rise of Skywalker. So if you think about it, you could easily see like if Rey is going to be the new Yoda, then I can see Finn being Windu, being the right hand man, the second, basically the second in charge of the Jedi. You know what I mean? He's not at 15 years. I mean, he's probably more training other Jedi than being trained at this point.
Well, yeah. In 15 years, he'd be at the point of being able to obviously be able to train other Jedi at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be really interesting because if he fast forward that much time, and there is like other people being trained, there could also be other people doing things. So that might actually be an interesting spin on the movie too.
I love people doing
If-
things.
Well, careful.
No, that's not what I meant. I just meant like you're doing things like what things? Like that's just so generic of an expression.
Well, what do you think Jedi would be doing?
No, I think
Being
what you
guardians
mean
of peace
like
and justice in the galaxy.
Yeah,
I think you're
I'm
also
saying they would
referring
be
to
doing things,
being tempted
So
by the
not
dark
like-
side.
Or no, I mean what I mean is that they're not just gonna be like little students that don't do anything. I was saying maybe they're the ones doing stuff, and so they're gonna be main characters, whereas maybe like you were saying,
Yes.
like a Yoda is like maybe Rey and or Finn are kind of more in the back controlling what the missions or whatever they're doing.
I hope not, because I feel like this is the opportunity to get them in their prime, not when they're the mentors.
Rey's not in her prime now.
Okay, but you know what I
no.
mean? Like
my God.
I more mean that
She gets stronger. She defeated Palpatine
Oh
with
no.
with redirecting Force lightning, but she's not in her prime yet.
Oh man.
I just more mean that as from a character's perspective, I don't think
Yeah.
she's old enough, especially only 15 years later, to be the old mentor type that's in the background. That is realistically why they brought back the OT characters in Luke, Leia, and Han, and they were supposed to be the mentors of the next generation. But I feel like she's going to be teaching the next generation, but she's still the one in charge. She's still the one that's going to be the target, of Sith or whatever,
Whoever the villain is of the movie.
Yeah. And so
Well, that's what we're talking
I
about.
don't think she's to the mentor part, the part where she's not, because one, we don't know that this is anything more than just a one-off, because it hasn't said it's a trilogy, that
Yeah.
it's not a new trilogy. And the other thing is too that basically the mentor in the trilogy dies in the first episode. Qui-Gon,
Yeah.
Obi-Wan, Han all die in the first episode of the new trilogy. So I think, and I don't think they're definitely not at that point of killing off Rey. That's for sure.
No. And my whole point with Finn is I don't want him to be like, here's the movie, everything's happening. Oh, look, here's Finn with his apprentice spy.
Screaming at Rey, no!
I want him to be equals with her in this movie.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that would make it better. I think that would make the sequel trilogy better. Just like we've had all these other shows and movies make the prequels and the original trilogy better.
Mm-hmm.
We need content filled in during and after the sequel trilogy.
And I think that's kind of what we're going to be getting as well with we're kind of getting it right now with the Mandoverse and with Dave's movie coming. They've basically just said it's a completion of the Mandoverse and it's a New Republic versus the Empire Remnant. That's basically all the information that's given about Dave's movie. So technically, we don't even know anyone that's in it.
We don't even know if that's the truth. If that's for the, it could be the Mando, Ahsoka, Rebels sect of Carson Teva's Delphi Rangers, the Skeleton Crew, all these shows teaming up with Thrawn to fight the Grisks in his movie. Come on. I want that.
Oh,
I want
man.
Thrawn. Could you imagine Thrawn teamed up with the Rebels crew?
Oh, man. That
what they
would
could
be
accomplish.
That would be so cool.
I totally want there to be something between Thrawn and Ezra having spent like a ton of time together after they, Ezra's escape with the Purgle with Thrawn, and basically him saying to Ezra, "Look, man, this is what I'm trying to defend the galaxy from. I was trying to use the Empire and their resources to defend the galaxy against this coming threat."
I just gave myself goosebumps. Could you imagine, like, we get to see like Ezra and Thrawn go to the Chiss Ascendancy to like give the information of this is a legitimate threat.
I would love to see like a decent chunk of live action Chiss Ascendancy and their ship design. Like I want to see that. I want to see all of it. Oh. Get meet Eli Vanto.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be awesome. That'd be sweet. If I was thinking about that, if he would be in it, that'd be pretty cool.
I'm kind of like, will he be in the Ahsoka show?
Yeah, in the Ahsoka show. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that'd be crazy if he's in there. I mean, it would make sense.
At the end of the book, where right before Thrawn goes back to, I can't think of Ezra's home planet, Lothal. Right before he goes back there, he sends Vanto back with Admiral Ar'alani in the Ascendancy. Like that's where he is when Thrawn disappears. So and you in that book, that it's not widely known that Vanto got approval from the Emperor to go on that mission. Yeah, like people in the Empire think he's a traitor. So it's not like he's gonna go, "Oh, Thrawn's gone, I should probably go back to the Empire." No, he's like, "Thrawn's gone, I can't go back to the Empire."
Right.
I have to. So he's gonna. You don't know what happens to him, but
maybe if Thrawn got back to the Chiss Ascendancy and he's been building their power, and that's where he's reemerging back into the known galaxy with reinforcements from the Chiss, and so then he's got Vanto by his side as his first officer.
I so hope it's the guy from The Expanse who plays Amos. I want him to play Vanto.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Because he's credited for being in the Ahsoka show.
Oh, really? That's crazy.
And I read a tweet a while back that he's like a right-hand man of Thrawn. Is his character?
He would, yeah.
That would totally be Vanto. Vanto would be a right-hand man of Thrawn for sure.
No, I was just thinking like that actor in general. That would be perfect because he totally could be like, from like the stories of like his family and where he comes from. Like that seems
like he has
him.
That type of acting, and I feel like he can do that like I'm smarter than you give me credit for. Look,
right?
Like he doesn't like it doesn't look like he's smart, but he totally can be. And I feel like, oh man, I want that. I want him to be Eli Vanto, and I hope
that would be awesome.
With supposedly getting him as credited like in the Ahsoka show, I hope that's what we get, and we get to see Vanto in the Ahsoka show.
Oh man,
there's so much. Awesome. There is so much that can happen in that show that we just. I mean, it's at the point where it's really exciting because you're almost in open water. I mean, you do have the sequel trilogy coming up in the timeline, but at the same time, it's almost like there's pretty much freedom to do whatever they want almost here.
Well, and it's not like there's the other fantastic and like the thing that I'm so excited for about the Ahsoka show. It's not like Rebels. When you've watched the first season of Rebels, you're learning who this crew is, right?
Yeah.
You don't know anything about them. When you watch The Mandalorian, the first season, you're learning about Dan and Grogu. And we're gonna get Ahsoka show, and it's gonna be straight away. We know who these characters are. Let's get down to business.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like watching an origin story for a
it might
Marvel,
not be
for a
quite that
Marvel
much.
hero.
It might not be quite that much, just because Dave's basically
The
said you don't
casuals.
have to have watched Rebels
Yeah,
to figure out
But-
what's going on. But
but you know there's gonna be subtleties that we as
yep,
nerds who have seen all of Dave's stuff will pick up on that the casuals who haven't won't.
exactly.
You will definitely. You might not need to watch Rebels, but it will make the experience better. Just like
Yeah.
I say,
Sure.
when you watch, like the argument between Clone Wars and Rebels, which is better. I still personally think I enjoy Rebels better, but I think Rebels is only as good as it is because it has characters developed from the Clone
Yep.
Wars in it. Like if you didn't watch the Clone Wars and went straight to Rebels, you wouldn't know the importance of Rex or Ahsoka in these stories, or even
or
Gregor
like
and
their
Wolf.
first meeting.
Yeah.
Their first meeting when Ahsoka and Rex meet in Rebels, you wouldn't understand the gravity of two
Yeah.
friends seeing each other again after such a long time.
Well,
And
not
when-
even
and
that, but
they
you
went through
wouldn't.
so much together.
That's
you
what I
wouldn't
mean.
know
They're
who
not just
Ahsoka
friends.
is. You wouldn't know Ahsoka. You
Yeah,
know, so
exactly.
it would literally just be a
It'd
random
just be
person.
another
Yeah.
Jedi.
Two
in the
randos
story.
meeting.
Yeah, so I
That's
think
what-
I think it's gonna be like blatantly obvious when these characters meet, like we seen in the teaser. Like, oh, it's been a while, so that tells the audience. So, like Filoni says, you don't need to know. And I'm telling you right now, it's been a while since these two people have been together. Okay,
But
they
they knew
know
each
each
other from
other.
before,
There's
yeah.
had been a thing, but to us, it's like, oh man, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And having been a huge fan of these shows, I just know the Ahsoka show is going to be amazing. I've heard that Filoni has personally written every single episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's completely taken charge. It's his
Yep.
baby. He hasn't directed every episode. I think he's directed either 2 or 3 of the episodes, but he wrote all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Duchess asks when we're gonna start our rewatch of Rebels, and I don't know about you guys, but that's a definite must before the Ahsoka show comes out. We gotta rewatch
Yeah.
Rebels.
Yep, and we'll cover that. We kind of have to figure it out because I think we're going to want to do more than one episode at a time just to kind of get through it. But I don't think we want to do like a full season at a time.
I don't know. I think that probably would be our best bet. Maybe not, but we'll see. Because I don't know if we really want to do 8 episodes on it. It's 8 weeks. That's 2 months.
Yeah,
I don't know
that's
if we have
true.
that kind of time.
But it's also like, do you have enough time to watch a full season of Rebels before our next podcast?
No, I mean,
Maybe.
I could watch it all. Considering my work schedule is going to change too next month, I definitely could. I could watch all of Rebels while on the clock next month. With my current schedule, I can't, but next month I totally could.
Oh, well, this has been one of the funnest podcasts. I like when we do these discussions where we don't necessarily have a topic because our conversation went everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It went so many places, and I think this was an excellent episode. Just talking about everything from the originals to the prequels to the sequels. We discussed it all basically, and future and everything we're going in. So not only is it very exciting to be a Star Wars fan, but we're just gonna continue to get more and more, and the lore just keeps getting bigger and deeper and harder to keep track of. But it's so fun.
Yeah. Dutch just said too, you should do this kind of show more often. I love seeing all your excitement for everything. And Miss Lily Martinez agrees.
I think we should do an episode kind of like this right before Ahsoka for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe not have us just be like talking about the stuff we're excited to see on the show.
Mm-hmm. And maybe like a couple of things that maybe like some things that we expect to see, some things like maybes, and then some stuff that we'd love to see but probably won't happen type of stuff. I always like
have a whole speculation episode.
Yeah, that'd be fun. And then it'd be fun to like, as the season goes on to kind of see if any of us were right,
Yeah.
Do you think we're gonna get some Tamara Morrison playing Rex? We wanted to see live action Rex, and I'm like, it's perfect because Rex will be old at that point, quite old, and so, especially with the accelerated aging of cloning.
Yeah, they might actually have to. They might actually have to older. Yeah, exactly.
And I think it'd be awesome. And I feel like he has a lot of passion for playing the character of Boba Fett and the clones. So I feel like he would bring his heart and soul into that. He wouldn't just be like, oh, it's just another acting job. I think he would really he would get in touch with that character.
I agree. Mm-hmm. Well, guys, I think this is a good wrapping point. We've been going on for over an hour and a half now, and wow, this was a fun episode. And I think it's a good place to kind of wrap up.
Yeah, so my kids wanted to say something real quick.
Okay.
Hey, come here.
May the force be with you. May the force be with you.
Nice. May the force be with you as well.
Hey, I'm Crazy Q and Dolph Canuck.
Hello.
What's up, guys?
Carrie has her little Leia hair right now.
That's awesome.
I got my Darth Vader head. Okay, I got Darth Vader.
He's more machine than man now.
Wait a minute. Are we still on stream right now?
Yep. So don't say anything crazy now.
Oh, man. I'm really the fan. My daddy doesn't like Star Wars.
Yeah. Oh, man. No, yeah, it was a great episode.
Well, I think, why don't you guys go ahead and plug your stuff, Josiah, and we'll kind of get out of here.
All right, yeah, so not too much has changed. We still are doing our weekly show, Hezekiah and I, on the Rock Show YouTube channel, and still on Twitch, actually, on Hezekiah's Toys and Games Twitch. So it's Saturday afternoons-ish here in the United States. And that we just play some games together, chat with everyone who stops by. And then besides that, I haven't been doing the Rock Player show because I've been working, but we have been able to stream quite a bit more. So Hezekiah's Toys and Games on Kick, and Hezekiah and I have been streaming a decent amount, playing a lot of Battlefront 2. Pretty quick here, we're going to be playing Jedi Survivor, so excited for that. And then we're going to be going probably back and forth with Zelda Tears of the Kingdom when that comes out. So yeah, we got some couple amazing games that we'll be playing. And I was just talking about it a little earlier, since we have a PlayStation 5 now, I think probably the first game we get on there is going to be Spider-Man, because it's one of Hezekiah's favorite Marvel characters.
That's one I've always wanted to play, and I just still haven't had the chance to.
Yeah, so I even wanted to like buy it on PC, but I just never did. But yeah, I think it'll be a great pickup to get like Spider-Man remastered and then Miles Morales. So yeah,
nice.
So that's where we're at.
I'm not doing too much. Hopefully, I'll be streaming Jedi Survivor in the next coming week or so. I've been doing a lot of video editing and stuff for people, and so I've just been super busy. But if you need anyone or need something edited, go ahead and message me on at Darth Canuck on Twitter. Hopefully I'll be streaming here again on the channel, Darth Canuck for Jedi Survivor, here coming up shortly. I want to dig into that one. That's going to be my first main. That'll be the main game I focus on when basically playing any single player time. So, but yeah, this was a great episode. It was fun. It was a great talk. And as always,
May the force be with you.
you guys are so funny.
Always. I'm